Hello, guys. Hi, this is Ganesh Nayak. Thank you very much for joining us back. And today I'm back with one more interview of my student. She has been able to clear FRM Level 2 in November 2021. And we're doing slightly a late interview, but the idea of these interviews is that we have to give the audience or the students who are preparing for the next exam or preparing for the next coming exam, they can learn from the journey. They can understand what are the challenges the students have already faced and how they are being able to overcome these challenges. So with this, we'll start with a conversation. So, first of all, Mansi, thank you very much for taking out time. And I know it's very early in the morning and you're about to start the job also. Thank you very much for taking out time for this conversation. And primarily, we had already done for level one also a similar kind of interview,
Yeah.
right? So this is I'm very happy from that perspective that you've been able to clear fast the level one and level two. Now, just for the
Yeah.
benefit of the audience, when did you clear your level one? When did you start your preparation for level two? And what were you doing around that time?
Okay. Thank you for having me, sir. I when did I clear level one? It was in May. So I initially started preparing for FRM level one in my first year of college. I was doing BMS, and
Mhm.
then because of COVID, my attempt got delayed to November, which got delayed to Jan 2021. So finally, I was able to clear. When the results came out in February, so I was able to clear level one then. I was still in my second year. Very early on, I started preparing for level two because I didn't want to waste a lot of time. And in December 2021, I decided to give my level two attempt because I could have appeared for May 2021 too, but that time would have been really insufficient. And I was also doing an internship at Morgan Stanley. So
Okay.
everything got really chaotic, managing college studies. Although it was online, there were a few assignments or exams that I had to study for. So I decided to delay my attempt a bit. And December 2021, still in the second year, I gave my level two attempt and I was able to clear it in January when the results came.
So from when you started in the month of Feb, so at that point in time, there was no internship, right? It started
No,
slightly
there
late.
wasn't. Yeah.
Okay. So what was the time commitment when you started on a daily basis?
So early on, everybody faces a little issue to get in the groove in the beginning, and so did I. So I started with 1 hour a day just to make sure that consistency is maintained, that I at least do some part of it on a daily basis so that I build up my habit and then gradually increase the hours. So
Right.
then comes April and then comes May, and then I start my internship at Morgan Stanley. And now it's really, really busy during the day. And I'm so tired by the end of the day that I don't want to pick up the books and study. But I knew that if I'm not consistent, it'll be a problem for me later on because
Mhm.
finishing the portion in the last 3 months gets really chaotic and hectic. You don't get enough time for revision and for mock tests. So
Right.
I started uh, again. I started the process from the beginning because for a month or so in May, I don't think I could get anything done. But when I realized I have a 3 month long internship, so I can't waste 3 months like that,
Right.
I started picking up speed. And then by I think July, mid July, my internship ended, and then was the time when I joined my library. I was studying for 8 to 9 hours a day initially because
Right.
the portion is quite vast and I couldn't have finished it otherwise. So by the end of, I think, September, I was studying for, I think, all days a week and at least 10 hours because, again, the portion is quite vast. It's mostly theoretical, then practical sums and maths. So you need to pay a lot more attention. And I, being a student in the third year, although I was pursuing my majors in finance, subjects for risk management don't start until sixth semester, which is in the
Right.
third year. So I first had to get my basic concepts clear, which thanks to level one were a bit uh, cleared, but I was still in the gray area. So then I had to revisit other books, other channels, uh, your videos and some sheets and everything again and again just to understand the concept in the beginning. And then
Hmm.
when I gave tests, initially at the start, I was a bit discouraged because I couldn't apply the concepts properly. But
Okay.
eventually, when you revise it twice or thrice, so the key for me was I, if I've done finished one topic today, I will make sure that I appear the test on that day or on the next day at least, so that the
Okay.
concept is quite fresh and I can understand even after studying it right there and there how where am I going wrong, what do I need to brush up on.
Okay.
So when I started doing this, it got a bit more, the concepts got a bit more clarity. And then I think I started with market risk first,
Hmm.
which was a little discouraging. So then I went back to investment risk, finished all the chapters, and it was quite interesting for me because, as I said, I was doing my majors in finance. So
Right.
I could relate. That was the only subject which I didn't have to, put my heart and soul into because it came naturally.
Right.
And then I started with operations management, one chapter at a time, like you suggested, so that it doesn't get very monotonous. And at the same time, I'm doing other subjects also.
Right.
So I did my, I think, uh, uh, operations market. I'm so
Liquidity.
sorry. Liquidity was at the end. Uh,
Credit.
my credit. Yeah, I did my credit. It's been a long time. I'm so sorry, everybody. I did my credit then. And credit, I really liked the subject. It was a little new, a little easy, and I think more because it was more quantitative. You can understand because you in real life also you go to banks, you apply for loans.
Right.
You know what the risks are out there. You don't clearly need to see an entire system to know how it works or any metric or spreadsheet. You have a basic knowledge of
Got it.
how things are going around in the environment. And then finishing, uh, market risk was next. Liquidity risk, I did it at the end because it had very little weightage. And even current issues, I picked it up at the very end. I think in the last 15 days. My advice is not to do that to anybody, but I picked it up at the very end because I had a time crunch. I
Huh.
wanted to, because current issues had very little weightage and the chapter size was small. I knew that if I do 2 3 concepts a day from current issues, I can finish it in the last 15 days.
Right.
So that worked out well for me. But honestly, do try to finish your portion a month ahead because this gets very chaotic. For me, I work uh, so if I study something at once, if I understand the concept, I don't need to revisit it again and again. That's a good thing I have developed over the years. So
Hmm.
it worked out well for me. But for somebody who's not, uh, who's still trying to build that up, I would advise to, finish your portion a month ahead and give a series of mock tests. So I didn't give too many mock tests. I gave 2 or 3, but that was enough for me. Um, because uh, after I gave the mock test, I knew my areas of strength and weaknesses. I knew
Okay.
what I had to pay more attention to, which type of questions should I attempt, which
Okay.
questions I should leave for at the end because they are time consuming. Because uh, level 2 does not have kind of questions that are very lengthy in size. So you don't take up a lot of time reading them, but definitely you have to take up a lot of time understanding them because there
Understanding
are
it. Yes.
6 books. So you don't know कि ये कौन से book से आया है question. And being strategic in attempting questions with books that have high weightage is key. So if you
Okay.
attempt 8 questions of current issues, but you do not attempt 8 questions of operation management, it does not make sense because भले
Right.
तुम्हें उसमें first quadrant आ जाएगा, but operations में नहीं आया तो chances are
That's
very
correct.
high that you would not
Not
clear
clear.
that.
Now, did you get time to revise the content after your completion?
I did. So uh, what I did was in the last month, um a few chapters were still left to be covered, but I started revising the portion. So the major chunk of my day, uh, 4 to 5 hours, would go in revising the portion from the beginning. And
Okay.
the 2 3 hours at the end of the night, I would pick up a new chapter. So that worked out for me because uh, I thought I would pay more attention to things I have already finished, already done. So I would revise a lot of chapters during the day so that I have confidence कि हाँ चलो इतना portion तो हो गया है, अच्छे से आता है. थोड़ा सा
Right.
अगर 10% बाकी है तो I could go at night and then go through the chapters and make sure I appear the test next day in the morning or in the evening so that I know
Okay.
कि नया chapter भी आता है.
Hmm. Okay. 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 And primarily, what was the, I just, if you remember, okay, what was the average score you were getting in the mock papers? Out of 80, how many rights you were getting? Any idea?
I think 70% questions I could get right in the very first attempt. Uh, for credit, market, and investment, I could get 75 to 80% correct. But for operations, it seemed much more easier because it's just theory, but it really wasn't. So when I went for the test, I saw that I couldn't even get 40% correct because
Okay.
when you read theory, you make sure you are memorizing it, but sometimes you forget that you're not understanding the concept. So many points are similar in many subjects,
Right.
many subtopics. So if I'm studying, for example, uh, a particular advantage of a metric in operations, and the same goes in credit. So अगर credit में आंसर कुछ अलग है तो उसका application operations में थोड़ा अलग आता है. So if you try to mix the two, then you get confused. So you have to make sure कि तुम याद रख रहे हो कि advantages और disadvantages operations में थोड़े से अलग से आ रहा है. You cannot apply the same tricks in both the subjects. कि I would initially, if I didn't know what the correct answer was, I would try to eliminate the wrong ones. That is the most sensible thing to do.
Right.
But if I'm really sure, so in most questions when you try to eliminate, you can only eliminate, you will find two options at the most, but last two options may hamesha you will be confused. So the key is to understand whatever theory you're reading and try to explain it to yourself. So what I would do is I would go through the chapter and then I would make sure that I'm able to summarize it in a way that I understand, because
Right.
reading was clearly not enough. I wasn't able to get the answers right. So I realized that I'm going wrong in the comprehension part. I'm not able to understand what I'm actually reading
Reading.
and reading. Yeah. So I would try to summarize it in 4 or 5 points, or just try to teach it to myself again so that I'm confident that I know the topic now.
I know, I know. Operation is painful because when you read, you get the confidence that okay, I understand.
Yeah.
But in reality,
Yeah.
the questions are so complicated. That's very normal. I mean, and a lot of people in this exam, also the May 2022 exam, they fail because of operations. So
Yeah.
that is a very critical book and very underestimated book actually for level two. The way we underestimate the foundation risk for level one, the same way.
Yeah.
Now, when you went for the exam, what happened on the day of the exam?
I was uh, so I knew that I've finished my portion, and the key is to walk in with a mindset that you're going to clear the exam, because
Okay,
it's a small room with so many people, and all you have in your hand is your calculator and a pencil and a pen, a paper. So all you can do is put all your efforts into it, and there's no other way around it. uh, so when I walked into the examination hall, nobody was of my age, not even one person. So they were all, by the look of it, they were all in their mid 30s or 40s. So
Oh,
at
okay.
first glance, I felt, oh my God, am I in the right examination? Or there are no students here. But so
Okay.
that does shake your confidence a bit. But then I was used to it because in level one also when I came to your class, I think I and Jinai were the only ones who were students, and
Yes.
there was no
Yes.
other college
College
going
students.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So uh, in I walked into that examination hall, and the air conditioner is the temperature is so low. It was calming at first, but then you see that the time is less, and the environment conditions don't really want to support you to clear the exam. So uh, for I started in the order from the beginning to the end. I would
Mhm.
if I would make sure that I am watching the time correctly.
Hmm.
So what happens is I finished my paper 15 minutes earlier. The questions I knew for sure were correct. And I think there were 10 questions that I couldn't answer. I didn't
Okay.
know what the answer was. And for two,
Okay.
three questions that were formula based, which should have come to me very easy because I prepped for formulas the entire time. But at the end, I don't know, the nervousness got to me and I forgot. So if the formula has three
Okay.
terms in it, A, B, C, I forgot what the C part was. You can look at
Oh.
the question, but then uh, you also know what value to input, but you don't know if you have to add it, you have to divide it, if you have to subtract it. I tried
Okay.
multiple combinations just to get that formula based question right, but I still couldn't do it. Now, I don't know if that went right or wrong, but uh, it was so I would advise everybody to get your formulas correct and not to revise them, as soon as you walk in the hall, or if you reach at the venue, just keep your book aside. Don't keep going through it. That will
Right.
just confuse everything.
Hmm. 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 And then the other
I
theory
went
questions, it was good. I mean, you were able to pick up the theory questions properly.
Yeah, theory questions I was, and surprisingly, I did current issues in the last 15 days, but I was still able to answer most questions, and I could clearly see, oh, this is current issues, the green swan that I had, artificial intelligence related questions, which are also, I think, if you're aware of what is going on in the market, and if you are reading properly outside the newspapers or the articles, you would, even without going through the book, you would be able to answer those questions. There were questions
Okay.
on, so there were some chapters that I didn't anticipate questions from, like Anti Money Laundering Act. I mean, there was no concept there, it was plain
Right.
theory, nothing to understand, just mugging up. So I assumed the paper wouldn't test it, but surprisingly it did. So do not underestimate topics in level two. Every
Okay. Because the
topic is
chapter is also
important.
very small. Chapter
Yeah,
is very
it's
small.
very small. Yeah. But I had, I think, one question from it too, which is a lot because you only have 8 questions in current issues.
Right. 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 So when you came out of the exam, did you had any number in your mind? Out of 80, I'll get 40, 45, 50, right? Any number?
Yeah, I think I calculated 55 questions I had attempted correctly. I
Oh,
was
wow.
constantly calculating even while I was going through it. I had to clear the exam. So I made sure that whatever I'm attempting, I wrote. So you get two sheets of paper.
Sheets. Yes.
So what I did was, as soon as you can see it on the screen as well, but this works for me. I wrote the number, ticked it, wrote the number, ticked it, wrote the number, ticked it. It hardly takes a second to do that, so that you know that if question 5 is difficult, you've circled it and there's nothing against it. So even
Okay.
then you can color coordinate all the, you can see it on the screen, it's visible in the panel that you haven't attempted these questions, these are attempted, these are marked for review. But
Hmm.
at the end, when you're in a panicky mode, it just, you stop understanding everything even though you know it. So when it's in front of you, you can clearly see कि 5 ही circle किया हुआ है, or I have to visit 5 only. And agar I
Okay.
used a marking scheme, so I also did stars in front of it if I had to review it again. So for the formulas that I forgot, for that question, I would mark a star that I know how to attempt this question. So I will just revisit it. I will try some other combination ki कुछ भी ऊपर नीचे करके अगर
समझा.
मेरा आंसर आ जाता है because it's a simple formula based question.
Right,
So
that's correct.
that was it.
Perfect. And so almost you thought that you've been able to get 55 correct. Now, what has been the
Yeah,
result when the results came in? What are the quartiles, if you remember the quartiles?
I do. Um, I got first quartile in operations, which was wow. I was so happy.
Wonderful,
um,
wonderful.
and I got first quartile in three subjects. I in credit was not good for me. Even though I liked the subject, I got I think second quartile.
Mhm.
For market, I got second quartile. For uh, current issues, I got first quartile. And for investment also, I got first quartile. And for
Wow.
liquidity, I didn't do well. I think I got fourth quartile for liquidity.
Okay, okay, wonderful. Now, what has been the reaction of people when people realize that you have been able to clear level two while still being in the college?
Uh, I so it was overwhelming for me too. So when I spoke to people, I was doing an internship at the time at EY.
Mm.
So when my results came out, I told my employer, and even he was very happy and shocked that they don't get analyst level people coming in with both levels of FRM cleared. So usually
Right.
people have cleared first level of CFA or first level of FRM or uh, something of that sort, or if they've given some NISM exams. But both levels of FRM cleared when you've not even graduated. That was really, I felt it was an achievement for me because in the market now people are much more aware of the course and they're pursuing it
Yes.
since first year. But when I did it, I don't think a lot of people were into it. And
Mm.
also, when I applied for a full time job, I got a designation higher to my peers. So all my
Wow.
peers work as an analyst, I work as a senior analyst. So 1.5
Okay.
years of experience that I required to get promoted to senior analyst got eliminated because I worked hard in my undergrad.
Wow. I mean,
Uh,
this is incredible because first of all, a lot of people feel that FRM is not recognized in the industry, right?
uh,
So, and you have got the benefit, direct benefit, by looking at the designation also, but primarily it's a recognition. Most important is
it is.
recognition. People realize that you have done something important. So this is very
So
interesting.
it it was, I think I agree with the industry recognition part, but I would say it worked out for me because I am in a risk role. I do business risk
Hmm.
consulting. So they
Right.
need more people who are well versed with the types of risk that are there and how to handle them.
Right.
Although most people I work with are CAs or CFAs, but I think they see me at par with them because I am a fresher and I would know more about risk than they might do. They have a lot of
Okay.
experience. They've worked for 3 years, but they did it in the auditing field. And I'm just a fresher, and I've studied risk for 2 years of my life. So
Wow.
I think
Okay.
that made a difference. Even when I apply, so there are some topics that are not briefly covered in the curriculum, like risk control matrix, how do you form it, or how to identify various types of risk. So they would tell you that in the curriculum that you have to identify the risk, the 4 steps, and
Yes.
then you
Yes.
have to
Yes.
solve the problem. But in the curriculum, it's not mentioned that how do you identify that risk. So that is something I learned at the job. How do you, form the risk control matrix? How do you
Right.
identify? How do you bring up solutions for it? So the curriculum is very, very helpful. I so even CAs who work with me as freshers don't know what 3 lines of defense are, and I did. So on the first day of my job, people were happy that when I told them that I started as a senior analyst, so they would ask me, "Where did you work before?" I said, "I didn't. This is my first job." So they said, "How did you become a senior analyst?" I said, "I've cleared both levels of FRM." So you can see that adulation even though people won't explicitly say it, you can see it in their eyes that, okay, they respect you.
Right.
It's a good thing that you have done something worth of an accomplishment, because as it the passing rate is not as high. My peers who appeared with me did not clear it in the first attempt.
Right.
So maybe I did something better than them.
Perfect. Perfect. Wonderful. I mean, the recognition part, I think so. This is going to be very well motivated for people to go for FRM and do, because FRM is the gold standard for risk management right now. When you
Yeah,
go in the industry, people do know what is FRM, and they know it's a tough exam if you've been able to clear. So the perception
yeah,
changes, the way they
it does. It really does.
talk to you, and I've personally seen that happening. A lot of senior people talk to you because they feel that okay, इससे बात करेंगे तो कुछ समझेगा. That makes a very big difference.
Yeah.
And primarily now, if you want to give 3 tips to other students who want to clear the FRM exam, what would be that 3 tips?
Um, uh, Try to finish your portion a month ahead so you have enough time for revision. The
Mhm.
second would be analyze your test that you give. Just giving the test and writing the answers is not enough. You have to analyze where you went wrong, which section is that part of, which chapter is it a part of, is it an important concept or not, should I
Okay.
focus more energy on it anymore or not. So there was, I don't remember which book it is from, but you had this economic balance sheet versus accounting balance sheet. So I wasn't able to understand the economic balance sheet entries at first. I sucked at accounting. So uh, I focused a lot of energy on it just to make sure that, if it ever shows up in the exam, I at least know what the question means, even if at least I can give it a try because there's no negative marking. But I couldn't do it by the end. I could roughly understand what the line items meant, but I still couldn't understand how it happened. So then I
Okay.
just let it go. I thought one question, focusing so much energy and hours on one question is not worth it. I should
Mhm.
try and perfect areas where I'm actually good at.
Right. Right. Perfect. Perfect. And this interview, Mansi, is going to be very very motivational for students, and
I hope
this will
so.
motivate them. I mean, frankly speaking, doing FRM in your college is not
Mm,
easy. First of all, I never had that information also. And even if I think so, I had that information, I might not have been inclined to start that
yeah.
journey. Okay, so for these new students who are now thinking of doing FRM after 12, this is going to be very, very interesting for them. And this is going to be very, very motivational for them. So thank you very much, Mansi, for taking out time and talking about your journey, talking about your experience and how FRM has helped you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I hope all the best to everybody who is watching this and going to appear for the exam.
Right. Thank
And
you.
sir is a great teacher. Pester him with all the doubts and he'll answer
सब
them.
लोग सुनो ये. Okay, okay, no problem. Thank you, man.